Hello and welcome to another adventure with Dave's Deadlines, where I've escaped the madness of Liverpool, moved right across the island, and now I've landed in Hull.
That lying little toad. He told me they intended to spend the entirety of his holiday away in Liverpool. And I thought I could trust his word for once in a lifetime.
You might probably of course remember Hull from my explorations around the St Andrew's Dock a couple of years before. And as you know, docks needed something to get between one and the other on a daily basis. That of course ending up being a railway line. You probably won't make much of that because of the state they're in these days, but these replica posters on the wall behind me mark the location at this point of not one, but two, but three different railway routes that pass this point between the 1850s and the 1960s. And when we finally get a green man, we're going to cross the road and get on track. On our right here, having crossed that hectic traffic corridor, this huge pub, namely the Zoological, is actually the site of where Hull Botanic Gardens station once stood. One of the first on this short piece of line that goes along the north of the city. The station was at a curve round here, going behind where the white car is. Out of view, between the bushes and houses there, is one of the original brick walls that was part of the back of the station. Botanic Garden Station, which included two platforms, booking offices and a footbridge, bent eastward, travelling right through this customer car park that is nowadays, towards that graffiti strewn wall over there and that tall tree behind it. Sadly we can't follow the route because it's private and there's a lot of unpermitting walls and fencing that also look a bit high for me to climb. That means of course a diversion is in order. But at least we've got our first station sight of the day already, eh? I think that must be a bit of a record for this page. It's only happened once before. I'm sure of that. Phone in if you disagree otherwise. Coming up this tranquil back street, the coach of the line is right in front of us here, where these flats clad in umpteen satellite dishes are. We can't go around there either. So we cut through this alleyway, General, Snicket, whichever you prefer, and emerge onto the route of the line once more, and over on the left, as already mentioned, telling brick wall here. Working out where exactly the platforms ended will probably be murder today. I think it's most likely to be just beyond that bench with that bottle standing on top. Anyway, bearing due east, and let's set sail along the former Sea of Rail. And an interesting gap in the wall. Just in case you wonder, no engines ever crashed here at this point. Leaving that part behind. Find a similar detail over here. The railway is on this side, don't forget. Whether a station doorway or someone's back garden gateway, I sadly do not know. We have to reroute a little bit at this time, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies once again. I'm afraid it's another general, guys. Nice lamppost positioning. Not sure if that's compliant with the DDA Act though these days. Anyway, we're back online in the line at last. We finally find our way onto the railway route for real at last. Sorry if you're hoping to see more than just a bike path and a line of lampposts. Can't win them all these days, eh? The railway fence posts over there are possibly not. They possibly are. Looking how green they're getting. We'll get on to the facts now then. So, it's the middle of the roaring 1800s. Hull's maritime and trawler and industrial peak. Obviously pretty much hit at that time. Pretty ideal to have a railway between what docks already existed either side of the city. So York and North Midland Railway built a 3-mile bow-shaped route between Hull Paragon and Victoria Docks, which is in the east of the city. Opened in 1853, primarily as a goods service. Then also added passengers, but this sadly flopped. And in 1854, Botanic Gardens station behind us, and Stepney and 2 others in front shut the doors again after only a matter of months. That was obviously not going to be good enough for one chap though. So you have this little village then, 15 miles away on the coast, called Withernsea. Population of about 100 people back then, including local businessman Anthony Bannister. It was pretty much hell-bent on seeing Withernsea expand into a large seaside resort that it is today. Not quite as large as Blackpool, Scarborough, however, but still popular. And so he decided to promote a new 17.5-mile railway from Hull to the coast, with 13 stations and mostly single track. And hence, in 1854, the Hull to Withernsea Railway took shape, operating under the Hull Holderness Railway Company. And things for the East Yorkshire tourist trade began already to look pretty much peachy. Although one snag is, however, that the railway did not run from Hull Paragon quite yet, but from Victoria Dock Station. So a couple of other stops along the line, such as Stepney, which we're just coming towards now, still stayed silent for another decade. Although originally part of the York and North Midland Railway, and later the fuller Hull and Holderness corridor, the line fell under North Eastern Railway control from 1862 onward. Stepney was one of a number of stations that remained closed from 1854 until 1864, when the rest of the line connecting from Hull Paragon almost to Withernsea was re-established. Until that time, beginning its journey from Hull at Victoria Dock Station near Drypool. Rather inconvenient for people wanting the city centre, don't you think? This is the only fully and also very impressively intact form of station on this segment of route, so we'll have to make the most of it. As you just noticed, I'll turn the camera back around again. It still keeps a lamppost or two around. A few platform edging slabs have, however, notably vacated. Well, one tried. Platform views, however, are always the best. The outbound platform at Stepney, seen on the left here, housed a wooden ticket office building and hut. Over on our right, however, is very much a feature attraction. The incredible, lovingly restored station building, now in use as a community hub, and Grade 2 listed. If you're wondering why I'd quietened down for half a minute, then I just wanted to stand here and admire the view of this exquisite antique of railway history. You can see all the lovely little bricked up archways over on the left, likely to be a waiting room and a toilet, possibly a lamp room too. It was built in the traditional Victorian brown and buff colour scheme of the day, which it has enjoyed a return to as of its restoration. The brickwork we can see from the other side here, also distinctively signifying that period in history. It's a pity that in 1964, that is sadly what Dr. Beeching made it, along with thousands of other stations across the British Isles. Lovely to admire how these various recesses along the platform face have also stayed their course. While also lately appears to have reared quite a few more passengers up on the top. Perhaps they're just here for a quick natter. Let's leave them to it, eh? Time to finally depart Stepney. So hard as I find it having to do that. Goodbye Stepney. Nice me knowing it. Right, so picking up with history again. The newly formed Hull to Withernsea route opens its doors from Victoria Dock onward to Withernsea in 1854 with 13 intermediate stations and a mostly single track route. Obviously that wasn't going to be too convenient, so sections of it were eventually doubled, including from Hull to Headland most notably. And 10 years later on after this, a link would be eventually added at Paragon, and the result being that this segment of line, including the stations at Botanic Gardens, Stepney, Sculcoats, Wilmington and Southcoats, would be at last introduced into use, making the line a full 17.5 miles. The NER would take full control of the line from 1864 onwards. That said, it was still yet not the other railway system to be sharing this stretch of track bed. Oh no, because plans have been put about for a connection with another seaside resort, Hornsea, since 1845. And Joseph Wade, a city-based timber merchant, saw his chance in 1857 after attempts had fallen through by other companies due to conflicts of turf, one such being that it would encroach on the York and North Midland's already existent connection with Victoria Dock. And on submission to Parliament in 1861, Wade's plan saw approval. The Hull and Hornsea Railway Company's new branch line opened in 1864, diverged northeast, stretching for 13 miles across the Holderness Plains towards its new terminus at Hornsea, with 9 intermediate stations along the way. It was also to prove a success, with 11 trains each way on weekdays, expanding to 12 on a Saturday, and also 4 on a Sunday. A couple of other interesting bits as we come out in the open again. We have another old railway on our right here. This is the Hull end of the Hull and Barnsley Railway, which came out of the former Cannon Street station. Got about half a mile worth of Severn embankment up there, which I've actually explored before, and I hope to add to this channel sometime in the future. No, we can't cheat. We've got to see the other side too. And then, if we bring our camera gently to the left once again, we will be greeted beneath us by the Beverley and Barmston drain, part of a regional drainage system installed here way back in 1798. We can also see the remains of a bridge alongside us here, possibly likely to be the remains of the short branch that went into Sculcoats Power Station. We should also have Sculcoats Railway Station just in front of us now, or where it would have been. But round the chicane, and nothing remains to be seen, except for this great and glorious shed over on the left here, that is. Sporting some lovely green touches these days. But there's something even more great and glorious still, straight across the road from that. Oh yes. The impending and immense Isis oil mill building we can see with its lovely blue tower up above. And a bit awkward to get through for a fence, but straight in front of us now, the one, the only Wilmington Swing Bridge. Let's have a walk right across the top of this beautiful lady. stand and admire. The original bridge deck was built in 1853 to carry the then single track Hull to Withernsea route across the top. Due to a resultant increase in rail traffic, with both the Hornsea and Withernsea lines now opened, coupled with the problems that the speed and load restrictions imposed on trains crossing over, the older and flimsier looking structure was replaced by a new double track deck in May 1907. Nice to see that with this bridge still active, that the original operator's hut still stands next to it today. Anyway, time to be heading off for our last destination of the day. Very shortly ahead. Becoming a busy railway once again, isn't it? Except not with trains. And though we're dropped down to beneath railway level here, Wilmington Station once stood on a right, where all these horrible square green buildings now occupy a bit of floor. With little to see of Wilmington either, apart from this cafe behind me, which is a former ticket office. It was the terminus of the Hull and Hornsea Railway at the Hull side, before the connection to Hull Paragon was finally founded in mid-1964. Fills you with sorrow to imagine that both these pretty little lines to the coast would suffer under Dr. Beeching's claw only a century or so later. Anyway, I need to be making a sort of a curve myself again now, going that way, as I don't think I can either get a ticket or a coffee around this part of the world. So, thanks for joining me on this relatively shorter journey than you're probably used to. Board that train at Subscribe Junction, as our next journey beckons you to be part of it. Take care, old railway lovers, and God bless.
Just you wait until tonight, when he finally arrives home from his holiday, stepping through that front door, swinging his hold all jubilantly around, as if butter wouldn't melt. Something of a pity that roasting his model train set in the oven didn't work out in the end. It appears now that other options might have to be explored. He likes to stick to the same spot each evening. Showing what a forgiving chap I actually am, I'm going to make his every wish come true this evening at dinner. Hi Ronnie, I'm back. Thought you might like a takeaway tonight, mate. Seeing as I've just got home and it's so late. You could do with the not off from doing the dishes, don't you agree? See you in about 5 minutes. Just gonna get washed first. Oh God, please come off, please. Oh my goodness. Fix it quick. Instant Furniture Restorations, Sheffield Limited. Yes, it's just absolutely possible you can save my life. When? Well, sometime in the next 5 minutes, if at all possible, would be preferable.